Can you imagine one of the world's most beloved landmarks, a global symbol of romance and beauty, being so hated that the city's top artists actually demanded it be torn down? Well, that's the unbelievable story of the Eiffel Tower. So how did this iron giant, born from such fierce controversy, become the absolute soul of Paris? Let's get into it.
From its fiery creation for the 1889 World's Fair to its near demolition just 20 years later, this is the story of how a temporary, despised structure literally had to fight for its life and somehow became an icon.
And look, this wasn't just a few grumpy critics. This was a full-throated roar from the heart of Paris's cultural elite, a total rejection of Gustave Eiffel's vision. This really set the stage for the tower's first huge battle, a fight for its very existence.
But to really get why this was such a big deal, we've got to go back in time. Because this was never just about architecture. The tower was a deeply political statement for a nation that was kind of falling apart at the seams.
Okay, so picture France in the 1880s. Things are tense. The new Third Republic is super fragile, you've got monarchists trying to bring back a king, and there's instability everywhere. One historian even called it a harrowed nation. France desperately needed a symbol of strength, of modernity, of Republican glory.
So the 1889 Exposition, it wasn't just a big party. It was a defiant 100-year anniversary of the Revolution. Its centerpiece couldn't just be tall. It had to scream to the world that France was the future, both industrially and politically.
But what was that future going to look like? The whole debate over the tower's design basically became this epic clash between two competing visions for France: old-school stone-built grandeur versus radical, new-age industrial engineering.
And the choice was pretty stark. In one corner, you had the architect Jules Bordes. He's proposing this massive stone sun column, a classical monument built to last forever. He argued that iron was inherently corruptible, factory stuff, not the material of real, timeless art. And in the other corner was Gustave Eiffel, championing iron not as a cheap alternative, but as the hero material of the modern age, a symbol of progress and precision.
And you know what's funny? Eiffel didn't even try to hide from the criticism. He completely embraced it. For him, the tower's beauty came from its honesty. Its shape wasn't based on some old-fashioned style. It was dictated by the pure, rational laws of physics. It was this incredible engineering feat, over 18,000 iron parts, 2.5 million rivets, and its elegance was a direct result of its function. It was a new kind of beauty for a new kind of world.
So, Eiffel wins the design competition. He gets the green light. But there was a catch, a big one. His victory came with a ticking clock, and it was only ever meant to be temporary.
That's it, 20 years. Eiffel's permit was only for 2 decades. The plan was always to tear the tower down in 1909. It was basically a giant attraction for the fair, not a permanent part of the city.
And here's where the story takes a crazy turn. By the turn of the century, the novelty had kind of worn off. People were basically indifferent to it, and the city of Paris was fully ready to bring in the wrecking ball, just like they'd planned. So, what saved it?
Well, the answer, believe it or not, came out of thin air. Literally, invisible waves. Gustave Eiffel, who was just as brilliant an entrepreneur as he was an engineer, refused to let his masterpiece die. He frantically started looking for a scientific purpose, anything to make the tower indispensable. And he found it in the brand new, cutting-edge technology of wireless telegraphy. Its second life started small, with a test in 1898. But then, during World War I, it became a literal hero, the Big Ear of Paris, intercepting German messages that helped save the city from attack. By 1921, it was broadcasting music and news to the public. The useless tower had become an absolutely vital piece of national infrastructure. It saved itself by becoming useful.
So, the tower survived the angry artists and the planned demolition. But today, it faces its most relentless enemy yet. An enemy that never, ever sleeps. And the crazy part is, Gustave Eiffel knew this was coming from day one. He knew the biggest threat to his Iron Lady wasn't wind or gravity, it was plain old rust. And he prescribed the only cure: constant, obsessive care.
Eiffel himself recommended a full repaint, and we're talking stripped down to the bare metal every 7 years. But according to some leaked reports, that is not what's been happening. The monument is reportedly in pretty poor shape, riddled with rust, and experts are sounding the alarm.
They warn that just slapping new paint over old flaky layers is a cosmetic fix that actually traps moisture underneath, making the corrosion even worse.
And this chart, well, it really shows you the gap between what's needed and what's actually getting done. For the big €16 million repaint before the 2024 Olympics, experts recommended that at least a third of the tower be stripped back to the metal. The actual plan? Only 5% was treated. That's like getting a touch-up when you might need major surgery, and it raises some really serious questions about the tower's long-term health.
When you step back and look at the whole story, it's just wild, isn't it? From day one, the tower has never had a moment of peace. It's been in a constant fight from the second the blueprints were drawn.
And maybe that's the real takeaway here. The Eiffel Tower isn't some finished relic from 1889. It's a living, breathing structure. It's a project that is never truly finished, one that's constantly being defended, repaired, and reborn. Its true story isn't just about how it was built, but about how, against all odds, it keeps on surviving.